Here we are with another session of Rogersville's News and Notes. Off camera, we got special guest Michael Highfield. He's hiding in the corner. I don't have another headset, but he can't wait to make his debut here on K-ROG Wildcat Radio and TV. So, Chad, what do you think? It's 10 degrees outside?
If that.
Well, I'm not fishing today because it's too cold.
I mean, I figured if your boat would break the ice, you'd be there.
Probably, but it's the heat inside. I can't stand this dry heat. We may have to move this show to Florida instead of.
I mean, it would be better than moving it outside. Let's don't move it outside in Missouri.
Well, we're going to talk mainly today about city limits and the sign ordinance, and then whatever comes else out of my notes. But I want to start off with the most relevant thing, since we had this huge snowstorm over the weekend. You got very fortunate, didn't have push no snow, huh?
Right. Yeah, it didn't stick. We had too warm ground temperatures.
Well, snow removal, is a big deal to a lot of people. And I hear people don't go into the city of Springfield because of snow removal. I've been told that many times. Would you annex into the city of Springfield? No, they don't do very good snow removal. I think we do a good job with snow removal, huh?
I mean, I feel like you're not going to make everybody happy, especially when you're pushing large amounts of snow. We've only got certain places to go with it. And sometimes that upsets people. But I know last year especially, we ran a lot of hours trying to keep it, and in some cases we weren't doing a lot of good because it was so cold, but we try to do a pretty good job.
Well, we don't get the snows of the 70s and 80s. When I grew up as a kid, it was right. It was big snows, but anymore, if you get a 3 or 4 inch snow, it's a big snow. What's our do you start with the Business 60 or Center Street, or how does the avenue work, and how many trucks do we have out there pushing?
I mean, we try to look at the main traveled thoroughfares first. Mill Street, Center Street, what parts of ours. I mean, when you look at Center Street, it's not all the city of Rogersville, but if MoDOT hadn't hit it, we don't stop there. We go ahead and push it to get to our subdivisions and things.
Right. It's kind of a help out situation both ways. You do it all the streets?
Do we do all the streets?
Yeah.
I mean, we make an attempt to.
Well, a lot of these subdivisions now, everybody parks on the road, and that just it just kills us. So if we know it's going to snow, get your car off the street, right?
And if you don't be upset if we block it in.
Yeah, put some snow up against it.
We've got to get through.
Well, I know a guy used to like hitting those culverts or those ledges on the concrete or on the pavement. And how's that behind the truck? Does that vibrate your hands a little bit, or?
Well, we always try to ride the curb on the edge so that we know the edge of the road, which is handy. But when you hit something, I can tell you from experience, hitting a railroad track will stop an F554 dead in his tracks.
Right in his track, yeah. I hope you had your seatbelt on.
Yes, but it also threw me up in the cab enough that it jarred my head.
I hope the coffee was cold.
It spilled every drink we had in there. Yeah. I mean, me and Anthony were wearing everything we had.
There's nothing much more rougher than snow plowing for our equipment.
Oh, it's hard on front ends. Yeah. It's bad, and the salt rust.
Well, that's what we're doing on snow. Thank God we don't have a lot of snow to push these days.
You may jinx us.
Yeah, I probably did jinx us, but it's all right. And so
if we don't do a good job pushing, we just get a call from the fire chief wanting to know why he can't get his fire truck there.
I get to it. The biggest thing, the message to people out there: if you live in a subdivision, you're parking on the street, and a snowstorm's coming, please park in your driveway, get off the road, and open up those streets where we can get the snow off the road.
Right. That's the best thing that you can do for us to help us keep the entire street clear.
Well, let's move on to the boundary lines. Hit number 2 up there on the switchboard, and let's go over to the map. And so up on the map, we got the city limits in that purple colors. And so the city limits is kind of broken up, hodgepodge. You can see over in the far corner, down in the right-hand lower corner, that's most of the city divided by the county. This is the Greene County GIS map. And you can see on the Webster County side where the city is bulked up. But if you look down 60, you'll see these other properties, and I got a close-up shot of it. We'll switch to it. But the city grows by consent annexation now, right? Mostly.
Yeah, we don't do any forced annexation.
And so as we get to the next map there, you can see where it comes out on 60, and we come down, and then on the south side of 60 is the concrete plant. Up north is the school, and that corner there that's that has nothing on it right now. And so if we move back over, go back to this map, up at the very top, it's kind of hard to see. You'll see the fire district up there, just underneath the route marker on the left-hand side of the road is purple. And then all the way down to 213, I got Doug Thomas and that Samuel Cedars is in there. And so over the years, and we just annexed another section there on 125. So those people that come in, they come to the city, file paperwork for the consent annexation. What happens after they file the paperwork?
Well, once they file the paperwork and pay the fee, we'll set a public hearing for that. That is viewed by the Board of Aldermen. Board of Aldermen will hold the public hearing. If there's no objection to the annexations all come in at residential unless otherwise requested. And so they will look, and obviously, especially out there in the 213 area, we try to make those people aware that right now there's no water and sewer out there. So those services we can't provide.
We do have sewer down to 125, right? A forced line?
Forced sewer.
Yeah.
To 125, yes. And, the future goal is to get water there as soon as we can. But, a lot of people like dealing a lot of people like dealing with the city when it comes to building or things like that versus the county sometimes. So we see a lot of annexations for that reason.
Well, here's the big question that I wanted to get to besides the boundaries. So everybody's got a Rogersville address in the city or as your mailing address.
Right.
But doesn't mean you're in Rogersville city limits, correct?
Correct.
And that times can be cantankerous, confusing, and I don't know if it's a problem, but people think that when you see a Rogersville item for Rogersville City, they live in Rogersville when they really live in the county. And so that's why we wanted to talk a little bit about this map and where we're at and running for office. I think you had some people try to sign up for office this year that didn't live in the city, had good intentions, but it can be confused. Just because you have a Rogersville address does not mean you're within the city limits.
Right.
And you can go to Greene County GIS map. There's a free map that you can pull up. You can see that. You can go to City Hall. I'm sure they have a map of it and go from there. Michael, will you hand me those papers on the printer? I have my questions for the next. I might have to go print them. Did you bring your print I sent you?
I did not bring that print, no.
Oh, it's probably not on here. Oh, it is on here. This is right here at the top.
Look at you.
Chad Bybee with a Y.
Oh, yes, you got it right.
And so anyway, that's the city limits. And the city limits really depends on growth based on people coming in the consent annex. And most of the time that happens because of growth, subdivision, building, people wanting in for whatever purpose they may want.
The real I would say typically the real reasons for annexation into a city would be to have the services, city police, fire, water, sewer. So that's why I think the staff we have now and we feel like it's important to expand those services to these areas that are not in purple so that we can start to see more annexations and the city limits actually grow.
And one thing we need to talk just a little bit about is the urban service area agreement with Springfield is down to 213. It's the last purple box is that road is 213. That's kind of where if the cities probably won't happen in our lifetime, but if they grow, that's where the two cities city limits would eventually be is at 213.
Nobody can cross that boundary.
Yeah. And that's on the highways. We go on 125 to the county line. We go to D South up here, and then we go out east of Rogersville. We don't see as much growth east as we see west. I don't know why, but I just guess more people want to be in
closer to Springfield.
They want to be in the suburbs more than they want to be in the burbs, and so we'll see. Hit number one. Let's go back to our beautiful faces and get off that map. And so let's move on to the sign ordinance. And so, last week we talked about the sign that Come and Go had put in for, and talked about the different, sign heights and had to get a variance to. So that led to a bunch more questions that I wanted to delve into, not so much you, but you know me, I'm the investigative reporter. I'm like Walter Cronkite. You never hear that? He's all I guess he's dead now.
Yeah. Yes, older than
he was such a good investigative reporter, and so I don't
the
want to
great thing about that time period is that he was a great reporter because he didn't report; he knew the facts.
And I guess I'm more of a great stirrer than reporter, right? So,
well, I mean, you report well, but you also stir at the same time.
Gotta own it. Gotta own it. Okay, so if somebody comes in and puts a sign up, do you have to get a permit for all signs, or what kind of signs?
I'm gonna let our building inspector who deals with signs speak on this.
Oh yeah, get Michael. He's not had his chance in this chair.
He'll be able to help us some on that one, and I think being more specific and giving the exact, like a billboard sign or what will help us get through that.
All right. Oh, we forgot the makeup on top, Michael. You're shining oil. So, all right, you there?
I'm here.
All right, this is Michael Heifel. He's our city building inspector, sign inspector, jack of all trades. You come and shuffle you around town if your truck's broke or something like that too, if you need to. So Michael, on the sign, does all signs have to have a permit?
No, not all signs have to have permits. Depends on the type of sign. And there's a lot in our sign ordinance.
Let me throw some examples at you.
Okay.
So if we put a sign on the side of our building that says fishing shop, that sign has to have
you need to get a permit. Website.
And so we know that if you got it on a pedestal outside, that's got to have a sign. So the other question is we see some of these not real estate signs, but they're real estate size signs on the frames that say we'll use Grandpa's Frozen Treats as an example on the corner. What is the limitations on those signs, and do they require a permit?
So they don't require a permit, but they're only allowed to be up for a certain amount of time.
How many days is it? So that I'm not talking about.
Grandpa's, I think, probably 30 days.
Godfather's has got some signs out like that, and we see a few of those signs. What about a yard sale sign? We see lots of yard sale signs.
Yeah, you can put yard sale signs out, but you aren't allowed to put them on street signs, utility poles.
How about the cul-de-sac or the dog bone? We see a lot of signs in the dog bone.
You aren't supposed to put any in that.
That's restricted, right?
Yeah, MoDOT comes through a lot of times and takes those out.
So, what other kind of signs would we need to think about or talk about if we had one? So, if you have a sign on the side of your building, it's a sign permit.
Mm-hmm.
You have a pedestal sign, the little ones or whatever you want to go with.
Freestanding residential to awning signs at commercial.
We hope to have more headsets, Chad. I hope they heard you. But with the supply chain, we're behind on schedule. John Pope trying to get me some more signs. So does everybody get a sign permit? So as if my neighbor moves in to my shop, and we have people that want to go look for complaints or whatever, they call you at the city building inspector and say, do they have a permit, or how would you go about if you think that there's something wrong?
So if you think something's wrong and think someone's doing something illegal, you need to come up to City Hall and then fill out a citizen's request for action.
Let me see it. I'll take a picture of it and we'll switch it over to the other camera.
And once you fill that out, then it'll come to me and then we'll go investigate it.
What about maintenance? What can you tell us about, do we regulate maintenance? Do you inspect them every year?
No, we don't inspect them every year. If a business were to move out, then they've got, 6 months, I think, after the business is gone to get rid of the sign.
Yeah, and like we know, most people leave out of business because they ain't money. Mm-hmm. And so we really don't have a avenue to force that. I mean, you can take them to the judge, but if they don't, they don't, right? We're not going to go on somebody's private property and take down somebody else's sign.
Yeah.
Hit number 2 up there, Michael. So kind of hard to see here, but there's the citizen's request for action, and that citizen request for action can be used on all kinds of stuff. And and grass and all that stuff. So we'll get into that. But this form that I've posted can get City Hall. Can I email that to you, or you gotta go by and get it, or if you can't hear Chad, he said it can be emailed to you. So on the signs, as we talk about the signs, how many sign permits a year do we get? Do we do a good job getting the people that request signs?
Yeah, so when a new business comes to town, they fill out for the business license, they get a packet sign permit.
And so to get the business license, you see the girls up front at City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
You see
Yeah, talk to Glenda.
Yeah, I was thinking. And so in that permit, when you get that packet, it's going to talk about your fire inspection and all this stuff to have a business operating. And so we do get a few businesses that come to town to try to move in and not get a business license. But most of the time, those are a single occupant contractor's office or something like that they didn't understand they needed that. We do a little problem with that, but not very big. I mean, most of the time that's got from our building inspector, our fire inspector happens to be in the wrong place at the right time, or vice versa. And so sometimes we covered, I mean, that's someone in the chat saying,
that's just talking about different styles of signs. Your actual ordinance is probably again another 9 pages in. Display of signs. It does talk about
you're going to have to get back on the headset.
No maintenance thing like that. We don't do. In your building regulations, there's advertising signs and billboards. You know, it talks about a non-conforming sign. There's a complete other section, but there's also a chart that talks about maximum height, maximum size, number of signs, whether they're permanent, how many days they can be there. I guess probably to make everybody aware of that is you see that used frequently enough.
Yeah, I think that's the power of the people, right?
It is, but they also have to understand that sometimes a request for action is not something we can follow through on.
Right.
You know, it may be opinion, and it may not actually be something that is enforceable. You know, I don't like the color of Joe's sign. Well, I'm sorry. You know, we can't enforce that.
Well, we got the time. Let's just talk a little bit about what you could use that for. So one of the things may be if somebody's got a car in the yard, it's not, you can use this form, right? For that.
This is used for anything.
And
when it comes to something that you believe might be wrong.
And we see some of that. We have some abandoned yards in town, and you could use that form to call up, and then from there the police looks at it for the abandoned cars.
Right. They'll go determine is the car, you know, out of license, things like that.
And then another thing you might what's our grass height? Do you know off the top of your head? Is it 8, 12 inches, whatever it is? It's, you know,
I don't know. It's 12, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 12 too. And so we're not in the grass growing era, but
it's a great time because we don't have to deal with grass.
Yeah, no doubt. And so I hate grass, and thank God my son has mowed my grass this last year. But that's another request. If it grows more than a foot, you could request an action be taken on your neighbor. Do you have to put your name on that form?
Yeah, I believe that it does actually have a spot on there. Date, name of address of person requesting the action. Correct?
So don't show up and think you're going to be 100 Gotham City like the Highway Patrol, right? And you need to be willing to forward and sign the complaint that's coming out.
You know, this is the most appropriate way to handle those things. If you have an issue, it at least documents it and gives it. It gets to the proper channels. If we start, you know, if you catch me out, I'll always try to deal with it. If you catch Mike out, I'm certain Mike will try to deal with it. But sometimes we forget. But if we have this documentation, it goes in a book that is kept in the boardroom.
Yeah.
And it allows you to say, hey, on this date I turned that in and nothing was done. And it can either be, well, I didn't do my job, or it could be, well, that's something that we can't actually enforce.
And, I would say back in the day, the best thing, go knock on your neighbor's door and say, hey, what's up?
Right.
But, I've tried that a few times in my neighborhood and been burned by it. But you never know what people are going to say or how they're going to react. It all depends on your relationship with your neighbor. If it's somebody you never talk to or never get along with, I would go with this form versus going over next door. Move into the area, you don't know them, you may try it and see what happens. But again, I think it's a form that's out there that we could use more of and have more people step forward. We like to give our opinion on social media, so let's go ahead and back it up with some hardware, huh?
Right. Well, and they have to understand that, while we're over the city, we get a lot of requests for action on a pothole.
Yeah.
I mean, we may or may not see the pothole.
So we can do that if we see something with maintenance wise you want to get fixed.
I mean, if you see something that we're
My
missing,
street sign's gone. I wanted like a new street sign.
bingo.
Yeah. That's good. I didn't know that. I never thought about it that way. I always thought about it using it against the Joker, but I mean, you can use it on your own home turf.
It's a way of giving us the awareness that something is wrong,
and that way they got their documentation in there.
Right.
Well, my gosh, you may get someone in the next 2 weeks. You just have to hire a new guy.
I bet I don't.
Yeah, I bet you don't either. Hey, let's move on. We got about 9 to 8 minutes here left, and this was on the original list, but I sent you about 3 weeks ago. So
we're going to abstain from those questions.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what happened on Main Street, because that was a topic at the time on we don't have to get into any names or anything, but that was a topic on the Facebook page, and so the complaint page is more like it. And so the contractor was hooking the sewer in the middle of him doing that. He did it on a day that we got 2 inches of rain, which eroded the underneath the road, right?
There was a lot of problems there. Anytime a contractor is going to hook onto our utility, there's going to be a road cut. Generally, okay, because we have water on one side and sewer on the other for separation. So typically you're going to see a road cut. In this particular situation, the sewer was relatively deep. Nobody.
It was really deep.
Yeah, currently at the city of Rogersville had ever really seen that line that deep.
At least 12 foot, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was somewhere probably in that neighborhood. But what happened when they opened the cut up was that the gravel that had been put in there as backfill, which is appropriate, started to fall away. And so then it kind of left the road suspended. It also left a manhole suspended. It was a combination of a lot of factors that played into it. Timing's always good, making sure that weather's not bad, things like that. Those are always things, but we also understand that businesses can't just wait on things as well. But there was no way we could properly inform the builder that gravel was going to be like that, and there's no way that he would know that gravel was going to be like that. But we ended up with an excessively large cut, just to make sure we got back to something solid.
Yeah.
So that we could fix the road and it wouldn't have any problem.
Well, there was a multitude of things. And like you said, it was, number one, it was on a Friday, started in the middle of the day, and then the weekend came, and then the gravel fell away, the rain came, and then it just snowballed, and which led to excess of time on Main Street being shut down. Right. And, and that's some of the growth stuff. I mean, we're going to have, you can't fix it all by the snap of your fingers. And so just got to be patient. Unfortunate that it took that long, but we never know.
And a lot of these road cuts, we have to leave them gravel for a while because they need to pack. Otherwise, you're going to see a depression in the road, and nobody wants that. So we leave them gravel so that they can be packed in, and so that they'll have a nice firm surface for whatever top we put on there, whether it be concrete or asphalt.
Well, I think where are we at now? Is it still gravel over there?
Still gravel over there.
And you got to get some warmer weather before you can do much with it, right?
Right, and then
you're gonna concrete that back or asphalt, or
the subdivider is going to concrete that back.
And the contractor, he's responsible for fixing that for the most part. I know we had some problems in there, but It's a shared issue on that one.
On this one, it's a shared issue
Yeah.
because of the unknowns.
Yeah.
On a normal one, they'll pay a fee to the city for a road cut.
Yeah.
And then we repair it.
Hey, put Michael back on here for 5 minutes, and then we'll talk a little construction work, and then we'll end the show here. So the thing, Michael, that I seen last week, I wasn't aware that we were this close, but the workforce housing looks like that's finished. I was going to get a picture of all this stuff, and I didn't get it done. So the workforce housing there, what street's that on? Marshall Street? No, it's on Harper Street. Yeah. Getting right across from the bank of Rogersville Bank. It looks most of those done.
Yeah, there's I think one of them left.
One left.
Yeah, and then they've got to do the yard and landscaping.
Yeah, I seen the yard. The work wasn't done in there, but I think most of those units are already full of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they told me they had a waiting list for them before they were built.
Wow. And so what does workforce housing mean? I mean, when we say workforce, is that kind of like off of Watts Road, that housing is government supplemented housing?
Yeah, kind of like subsidized housing.
Yeah. So they look beautiful really right now. I mean, other than the yard's a winter mess.
They're a lot nicer than some of the apartments I lived in when I was younger.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, they look sharp right now, and hopefully they keep them that way.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to plant trees in there too, right? Yeah. So that's good. What about the 55 plus? Where are we at on the 55 plus?
So they just finished the clubhouse the other day, and then the other buildings are in the rough end stage on the new construction ones.
Is there 3 or 4 of those? I think there's 3 of those. Yeah, because the clubhouse took their way of one.
Yeah.
And that's on the south side of the street. On the north side, the 55 housing there, I think, is all full.
Yeah, it's all done and full.
Yeah. And while we're stuck here on the Morlock development, the apartment units, I know that they did some dirt work down there. Have we seen their plans, or where are we at on?
Yeah, the plans have all been approved. They've got their permit, and they should be digging footings here real soon.
When do they think the expectations of that done? Fall of this year?
I think so.
Yeah, something like that. What else is happening in the building inspector world?
A bunch of houses getting built at Lakewood Estates out there by Lee Brook.
Yeah. So if you got a question, Michael's over there, and you're not in the city hall building, right? You're over in the, what's that called? The shop building or maintenance center?
Public workshop.
Public workshop. Yeah. Give him a call. What's your number to get a hold of you over there?
753-2884 and it's extension 308.
Well, I appreciate you and Chad coming in here this morning, and we'll be back next week. I don't know which day, with the news and notes from Rogersville news and notes. I think we've had a pretty good response. We'll see what transpires. They all left after the sign ordinance, so everybody was interested in the sign ordinance, Chad. We had about 20 people on it. Now we're down to 6. So anyway, have a great week. Stay warm. It's going to be cold, and sounds like this weekend is going to warm back up a little bit. Monday's going to be in the mid-50s again. I wish I could fish, but I got to go to the doctor. So I don't know. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you soon.